Peace 107.5 FM, the air of success.
We are in the 5 o'clock hour, and if it's 5 o'clock, it's hard copy. Hard Copy is a presentation of the McKinney Media Group, copyrights 2017. All rights are reserved. The views, statements, and opinions of guests expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect the views of the host, sponsors, or operators of this radio station. No part of this program may be copied or reproduced in full or in part without the express written consent of the producers, the McKinney Media Group. This is Hard Copy on the McKinney Broadcasting Radio Network, and Hard Copy seeks to lay out the facts in simple fashion for the inclusion of all Bahamians and Bahamians at heart. The focus every day to move forthright in our manner to build a progressive and developing country. Our desire is for a Bahamas with a competent, skillful, and productive workforce. We want a country that can feed and sustain itself. We want a country with a brilliant, visionary action plan that's ready to embrace a future of hope and prosperity. We encourage like-minded Bahamians just like you to participate with intelligent and honest contributions. After all, we have a country to build, we've got jobs and industry to create, we've got a people to inspire and empower, and generations of born and unborn Bahamians we the people must protect and plan for. And if not you, then who? If not now, then when? Today on Hard Copy, look out, look around, watch the scene, and while you're doing that, watch out for the DNA. We've got them here today. They're going to be in living color in just a minute, right here this evening on Hard Copy.
Attention homeowners. Do you have enough coverage for your home and possessions? Well, if you're not sure, maybe it's time you talk to Advantage Insurance. Your property and belongings are probably worth a lot more now than when you first insured them. After all the natural disasters we have experienced, it's more important than ever to be fully protected. Call Advantage Insurance at 356-0285 or visit us on Collins Avenue today. Advantage Insurance, celebrating 20 years of service.
Hi all, Steve McKinney here to remind you that you don't have to spend big bucks to advertise or promote your products, services, or business. Call the McKinney Media Group Limited today and let the professionals fix you up a package, affordable and effective and guaranteed to grow your business. Advertise like the big boys at a fraction of the cost. Call the McKinney Media Group at 325-0235 or 325-0236. The McKinney Media Group, number 17 Gibbs Lane, Fort Charlotte. We make it our business to help you achieve success in your business.
Do you feel trapped and unable to move because of debt? Are you trying to meet your monthly obligations but still falling behind? Then what you need is a fresh start. BOB's Fresh Start Debt Consolidation Loan will combine your existing debts into one easy monthly payment, restoring your financial freedom and getting you back on track with a built-in savings plan. Talk to us today about your BOB Fresh Start Debt Consolidation Loan. BOB, your bank of solutions.
Say that they're sorry, but I don't believe.
Color Red is on the move. Come join FNM leader and the nation's next prime minister, Dr. Hubert Minnis, and the party's battle-ready Southwest New Providence Change Team this Tuesday, April 4th at 7 p.m. at the Park at Golden Gates Outreach Ministries. And here, why the PLP is sorry.
PLP them say that they're sorry.
It's the people's time. Change is here. Be there.
If you are suffering from a foot injury or disorder, make plans to visit Bahamas Foot and Ankle on Blake Road in Western New Providence. There they treat a number of foot ailments and injuries like arthritis pain, bunion and hammer toes, corn and calluses. They provide diabetic foot care and education, and services also include treatment for fracture, dislocations, and sprains. They can permanently remove that ingrown toenail, plus an array of other services available. Bahamas Foot and Ankle, Blake Road. Telephone 302-4607.
And now, here's a message from Bishop Neil C. Ellis.
If you ever get to the place where you can no longer forget some things and put some things behind you, you will always be prevented from moving forward. She says, I'm forever forgetting, I'm forever reaching. Ladies and gentlemen, when you are stagnant, you are no longer reaching. When you are no longer reaching, you are stagnant. You cannot be satisfied as a stagnant Christian believer. That's as a matter of fact equated to being lousy. Because you have power on the inside of you, so much so that every day of your life you should be going further ahead than you were the day before.
There's no other talk show like the show. If it's 5 o'clock, it's Hard Copy.
It is Tuesday, the 4th day in the month of April 2017. As you battle the congested city streets and drive home traffic, we have partly cloudy skies for you this evening. 83 degrees right now in the nation's capital. There's a low tonight of 74. Thank you so much for joining us on the drive home. I'm Steve McKinney. This is Hard Copy. We're brought to you today by Water and Sewage Corporation, Bahamas Public Parks and Beaches Authority, Mount Tabor's Inspiration, the Ministry of Tourism, Echo Water, the official water of Hard Copy, Hadji's, your everything store located on St. Albans Drive. Also, we're brought to you by Commonwealth Bank, the new debit card, Rocky Farms Nursery on Seabreeze Lane. They're in time for Easter. You need to go over and make sure that you're in time for Easter. Cool Tech, the Air experts, Tonic Williams, Darling Highway, Bahamian Brewery and Beverages, Kalina Insurance, Super Wash open 24/7, Bank of the Bahamas, the Bank of Solutions, Super Value, the All Bahamian Supermarkets, Advantage Insurance and Brokers, 61 Collins Avenue. Ron's Electric Motors, Big Ron Frazier, he can fix any large motor. Check him out. Also, Executive Printers on Jerome Avenue, McKinney Media Group for the best results in advertisement and public relations. And of course, Bahamas Foot and Ankle, there on Blake Road in the Old Doctor's Hospital compound. You can call Hard Copy at 325-023506, WhatsApp and texting 376-9234. You can also follow us on the World Wide Web at peace1075.com. Also, YouTube channel 970 on the cable top box, plus on BTC's Flow Television, Flow on the Go at 613, and TuneIn Radio, iPad, iPhone, and the Android. You'll get us there as well. Follow us on Facebook, Hard Copy, and on Twitter, Hard Copy Bahamas. Around the entire Bahamas, we welcome all of you into Hard Copy today. The Hard Copy Nation is going to be talking to the men in green, the women in green. They are from the DNA. They are going to be our guests here of interest today on the show. And of course, this is kind of like late moments, late minute kind of getting things in, because, you know, it ain't long now. And Christie is already starting to let us know that, you know, he's going to dissolve the parliament by the 11th of this month. And certainly a lot of other things that I'll talk to you about this morning, today, on this whole matter. And then, of course, because of that, the DNA and everybody else is right now making sure that they've put everything in place as far as possible to get the exposure that they are in urgent need of, especially the gentleman out there in Golden Isles. They tell me that he is about to take it. His name is Stephen Greenslade, and certainly in Golden Isles, that's the area that Michael Alcides has been representing. He's the incumbent. And these days, everybody seems to be against Alcides these days. And then there's Cindy Knowles, who used to be Cindy Coakley. She's now Cindy Knowles. And she's over there in Fort Charlotte. That's in our area right here where Peace Radio Station is. And she's going to be here to talk about where she sees herself in the next couple of weeks as they run into the 2017 general elections. So I want you to call me at 325-023506, 325-024243, and 325-025253, so we can have a good conversation. We want to get to know who these people are, because the truth be told, this one seems to be almost anyone's race these days. You know what they told me today? I was up and about. They said to me, boy, listen, you better watch them DNA. Say, people are talking about them in the different areas. And that seemed to be an alarming thing for some within the Free National Movement and others within the PLP, because maybe they had count the DNA out to the point where they are non-issue. But are they a non-issue? You see, sometimes a team can play the spoilers role. Sometimes they can come so serious that people just may say, you know what? I am tired of these two political parties. And that is what the talk is, friends. The talk is that we are tired of the two political parties, the two giants, and we want to try something else. And I think it was Chelly Moss who perhaps said it best yesterday on the show. He says a lot of people are so tied between the two parties that they just may want to try something else. And that something else happens to be a party, as Chelly Moss put it, that's been stable for the last 7-8 years because they stayed with it. They didn't come and go, they stuck with it. And that sometimes will have a great reward. And so because they stuck with it, there are some people who are stuck with them, I mean voluntarily stuck with them, that they want to support them. And they believe that this is the group that can make a difference. Now, of course, there are many who say that they won't win a seat. There are some who says 1 or 2 may get in. But basically, the most that people have been saying is that this race will be between the two major parties, the PLP and the Free National Movement. But no one knows for sure. See, that's just talk. Everybody has their view on it, but you never know. Sometimes the underdog gets all of it. Is this one of those times? Now, mind you now, let's go back to the prophecy. Miles Monroe said, you will see people you've never seen before. And it's time to usher in the new, he says. And there are some people who will take this country into the new Bahamas, into the next Bahamas, he said. He says, because the old weapons that kept us cannot no longer keep us, is what Dr. Miles Monroe had predicted. His prophecy was full of life, still is full of life. It's very much in the atmosphere, on the minds of many people in our country. It is. And so today we will talk with Mr. Stephen Greenslade and Mrs. Cindy Knowles of Fort Charlotte and, of course, Golden Isles, and see what it is that they have to offer, because I think it's all interesting. But before we do that, I've got to tell you some other things, take care of some other notes of interest here on hard copy. Christie, Prime Minister Perry Gladstone Christie, appears to be quite annoyed these days. Did you see him at the naming of University Boulevard the other day? Did you see it? Well, Christie appears to be quite annoyed these days. This VAT tax remains a monkey on his back, and it's getting to him. The people still talking about VAT. They're not satisfied. They have not swallowed all that he said, and that's a problem for Christie, that is. This VAT tax, the spending of the money, the non-accountability, or not the, I should say, the accountability that he gave that has not been really accepted. People are still bickering about it. It's like a monkey on his back. And that monkey isn't keeping still. This monkey crawling all in his head and all down his legs and stuff. This monkey on his back. And you see, the trouble with that is that time is running out. And time is running out fast as the general election nears. Of course, Christie called for the general election. You know, he didn't give us the date, but he has talked about the dissolution of the House of Assembly on the 11th of April. So for all intent and purposes, here we go to the general elections. Now, all of this is called pressure. Pressure burst pipe. This is called pressure, and the Prime Minister being intolerant these days is kind of like understandable. It's only human, and it may be understandable, but it's certainly not acceptable. He is ordered to keep his cool at all times, and that means all times, under all the pressure. In his most recent ramblings, though, he appeared to have thrown Michael Halkitis under the bus. Halkitis was the recipient of Mr. Christie's apparent anger when he attended the naming of University Boulevard. Here's what Mr. Christie said, and I quote from the newspapers today. Mr. Christie says, And even though I have a brilliant young man in Michael Alcides, a graduate of the College of the Bahamas, I have to be able to challenge him because it's so important to recognize how easily it is to piss away money. Excuse me for the language, Christie went on to say. And another quote is, that's what you call rich language. And one day you will teach it as a very graphic expression for annoyance. My definition of annoyance. So, who was Prime Minister Christie annoyed with? Apparently it was Michael Alcides. Let me read that to you again. Because you see, these little things shows the signs of where the pressure is. You all think the pressure is somewhere because the pressure is right in what the man says. It's a troubled mind that speaks about this value-added tax at the University Boulevard naming, and he says some things that you may have missed, but listen to it. He says, and I quote this, and even though I have a brilliant young man in Michael Alcides, a graduate of the College of the Bahamas, I have to be able to challenge him because it's so important to recognize how easy it is to piss away money. Excuse me for the language, he says. That's what you call rich language. And one day you will teach it as a very graphic expression for annoyance. My definition is what he said. Isn't that interesting? Now, of course, this was a step down from flipping the bird, of course, but hey, who's watching? When he flipped the bird in Foxhill, that was one thing. And of course, now he's a little annoyed. And it's only because of this monkey on his back, this value-added tax thing that just would not doggone it go away. People just keep asking about that. And so Christie, when I say he threw him under the bus, Michael Alcides, I'm suggesting that Christie is now pointing his finger and say, look, you see, this fella, Michael Alcides, you see, in other words, if I was to glean from it, I'd say, well, Christie is basically saying Michael Alcides caused this pressure, this monkey on his back, this situation where people keep annoying the Prime Minister about value-added tax. And so he says that, excuse me for the rich language. He calls it rich language when he says pissing away the money. But that's a serious thing, because considering Michael Alcides is the junior Minister of State for Finance, and Christie has flippantly looked at it and say, he's expressed annoyance. That, look at this man, sometimes I've got to challenge this fellow named Michael Alcides. I've got to challenge him, though he's a college graduate from COB and I like him, but he's a brilliant young man. But, I got to sometimes challenge him because it is so important to recognize how easy it is to piss away money. Christie told us in the communication to the House of Assembly a couple of days ago that not one single dollar was frittered away. Now, do you want to believe it? Let's put that in context. If one was to piss away the money, you know that term, right? And then one was to fritter away the money. He says not one single dollar was frittered away. But he comes back days later and he says, in his annoyance, that he has to watch this because he says, I have to be able to challenge him, meaning Michael Alcides, Junior State Minister for Finance, the man who does all the counting of all the monies and everything else. Christie doesn't do that. Christie's the substantial Minister of Finance, but get this, he says, I have to challenge this fella sometime because it is so important to recognize, he's saying. This is the seniority coming in now. It is so important to recognize how easy it is to piss away money. Was the money pissed away? I've got to ask that, and believe me, those are the words of the Prime Minister, as quoted in the Nassau Guardian. Interesting, right? Now you say, well, what do you make of it? This tells us the state of mind or the state of the situation that the Prime Minister finds himself in. There's a lot of mounting pressure. Elections are coming. And if you think that wasn't pressure enough, there's the pressure of putting off the carnival. I mean, you know, my goodness, the carnival was put off from the 4th to the 6th. And I told you the story on that. I said Christie was leaving the window open. He closed the door. He couldn't turn off the lights, but he left the window open so that they can go back and do something. And he did that. And just as I said, it's what happened. Because the delay of the carnival now is causing the promoters of that carnival to take issue. But you see, Christie has already cleverly said to them, look, I don't know when the date's going to be, he said. He's very, very clever, you know, he says. But the commission, the Carnival Commission has decided to change things around because of, you know, the impending election, I suppose. That's Christie. But the carnival has been moved from, reportedly, this was something that was posted on Instagram by the Carnival Commission, to May 18th, from May 18th to the 20th. This is after the elections, which we believe may be between May 8th, 9th, or 10th. So what it means is that there's more pressure because the carnival people now are upset with Mr. Christie, and they're letting him know. One of the fellas says, look, we're going to lose, one of the promoters said, we're going to lose between $25,000 to $150,000. This is the group from Bahamas, Carnival Cruise and Blue Monkey, Bahamas. Isn't that interesting? Blue Monkey. Hey, Lord. I just finished telling you the monkeys on Christie's back. Then here comes this group called Blue Monkey, Bahamas. They do cruises and, you know, promotions, and they bring people in and stuff like that. And they're screaming that they're going to lose between $25,000 to $150,000 because people bought tickets and this and that, and they travel plans, and so, you know, they made that for the 4th to the 6th. So that's pressure, mounting pressure on our beloved Prime Minister, Mr. Christie. So Carnival has been put off to the midway mark because of the upcoming general elections, possibly to be held by May 9th, 2017. And so, you know, the Prime Minister's got to prepare for the election. He's got to get his team ready. He's got to get the parliament. He's got to get so many things done. He's got to make sure the parliamentary registration department got it on lockdown. He's got to do checks and balances. And now he's dealing with a bunch of fellas in the parliament who has been bitching and complaining. Those are his words. Now, when you see that kind of language being expressed, it only could tell you, because the Prime Minister means well, that's pressure. Then on top of that, he's got the bad economy that is not growing. He's got this whole thing with the crime, the murder rate ratcheted up all the way to something like 600 and must be 10 or 12 now. Far surpassing that what they were talking about when the FNM was there. And that's pressure. All that brings pressure on Mr. Christie. You see the point? And then on top of that, you've got the dump. Ken Dorset said on the radio yesterday that he believes it's going to cost somewhere around about $30 million to try to do some corrective measures at the dump. You understand? And nobody wants to have no more money under this PLP government because accountability does not exist. That's what the people feel. And so at the same time, you've got that pressure. Then you've got the mortgage relief pressure. People are asking all kinds of questions about, and Christie is the one who has to face this music. While a lot of his men who are supposed to be there with him have taken a backseat, with the exception, I believe, of Brave Davis. They're not in the forefront. Christie has to face this one alone. Oh, where are your friends when you need them? If you think you're lonely now, wait until election day. But this is what I'm showing you because you need to understand the psychological warfare if Christie makes some mistakes right now, I won't be surprised. That's why, and the Tribune and them, they all over him. They're saying, Mr. Christie, tell me, these are little young reporters now, you know, they're talking to the most veteran, most seasoned politician of our time. I mean, he's been there for 40 some years. He's been there from 1977. And, you know, and these new reporters are asking him, but Mr. Christie, let me ask you something. Were you confused? Oh, my Lord. Wrong word. So Christie had to come out this morning and say, I'm not confused about why I told the people that April the 11th would be the day for the dissolution of Parliament. He says, I told them that because, you know, I really want the people to go there and vote. So I told them that as a kind of like, get them a heads up so they can get moving. Because, you know, we're doing this thing. You see, and Christie had to explain that. So the reporters are basically checking on Christie's state of mind in this election. Because they can't figure out, well, how come he could call for the dissolution of the House of Assembly? And normally when you do that, you would want to say, okay, we can do this on the 11th. And then you don't have to wait for the 11th to say a writ of elections. Well, the writ will happen on the 11th, but you could say, but the elections can be in the same sentence on the 9th of May if you want. But so the reporters were like, but you didn't say when the election date is going to be. In fact, the Tribune's editorial today made a whole thing about it. That it's important for us to know when the election date is going to be as soon as possible because people are making plans to travel. And a lot of people don't want to travel. They want to be in town to vote in the elections. So that may have been an oversight by Christie to not announce it when he announced it on the weekend, 8:30 in the night, that Parliament will be dissolved. And so all of these things have caused Christie to feel the pressure. Now, how well can a person perform under pressure? That's the question. Under pressure, if there's a pressure spot and you are expected to perform at a yeoman's level, you could mess up. Pressure burst pipe. The Tribune says, one of the other things that's so important about this whole scenario that Christie has just created, this whole dissolution of Parliament on the 11th, a no election date, is the fact that people also wants to know who will succeed Christie. Oh, they put too much pressure on him. You hear what they bringing up? Who going to succeed Christie? What's the succession plan? All of these things now Christie has in his head. He's got so much things that he has to deal with. Do you feel sorry for Mr. Christie? You need to try to put yourself in his shoes and understand what I'm talking about here today. See, no little jokey thing. This is pressure. Pressure of the highest degree. And then, of course, he's got to find ways and means to sway the people with a campaign that's not been going well because the F&M seems to have the momentum with rallies and all that. And then at the same time, here comes Christie, who's late on this whole bit about the paraphernalia and all these things being out. And he's got to do all that himself. Christie's the man. He's the man who, without Christie, the PLP will fall flat. So Christie's got to do all these things. I know so. That's how it is. And so all of that is mounting pressure, unprecedented pressure. And he has to also keep his head to don't be late with the elections, to make sure that all the checks and balances are there, and that he can also wiggle out of this value-added tax thing. My Lord, I don't want to be Christie at this particular point in time because it is pressure. And I sympathize with him. I empathize with him. I'm hoping that he can handle it because, you know, he ain't as young as he used to be, even though he can still dance. You know, and he's been showing fatigue. He's been showing he's tired, you know. Look in his eyes. You can see it. So we keep Christie in prayers. Sincerely, we do, as we get through this election. This is Hard Copy, and today maybe some more pressure will come on Christie because Greenslade tells me that he's going to beat Alcides. Maybe they'll take some of the monkey of Christie back. Maybe that's what will happen if Christie's already annoyed. And so maybe if Greenslade put one on them, and he'll be the first DNA candidate in. You think? We'll talk in a minute. Let's talk with Greenslade and, of course, Cindy Knowles and company. They're coming up next on the show. This is Hard Copy. We roll along, and we'll see how things turn out today. Hard Copy being produced by Stephen McKinney Jr. Esquire, and we are ready to talk after these words.
Mommy, what does comprehensive mean?
It's when you include everything, not just some things. Why?
I'm reading it on your Facebook page. Your friend Kalina has comprehensive health coverage.
Let me see that. Comprehensive health coverage that includes primary and specialist care, hospitalization, surgical services, overseas care, and rehabilitative services.
So they didn't leave anything out?
They sure didn't. Kalina really is my friend.
Talk to Kalina about comprehensive health coverage that won't leave you exposed. Visit kalina.com or find us on Facebook.
Driving on West Bay in rush hour? Hard. Getting a new car to enjoy the ride? Easy. Carting the kids around after school? Hard. Getting a car to fit them all? Easy. Get an easy auto loan from Commonwealth Bank. Super low rates, fast 24-hour approval, no loan fee, and no payments for 2 months. So come to Commonwealth Bank, and your next car is easy. Commonwealth Bank. Terms and conditions apply.
Jimmy's Wines and Spirits is getting you ready for the Easter holiday by hooking you up with a free Sands Light, or Sands Pink Radler. From now until Easter, when you buy a 6-pack of Sands Light, or Sands Pink Radler, you get one free. Make sure you head into Jimmy's Wines and Spirits, Nassau Street, Cable Beach, Shirley Street, Carmichael Road, or Wolf Road. The Easter Bunny has come early. Get the hookup at Jimmy's Wines and Spirits, Nassau locations only.
What's wrong with water and sewage? This is the second month I haven't received my bill.
No, Grammy. Remember, you signed up for the e-notification. You don't have to worry about the paper bills.
So how do I see to pay my bill?
Your bill comes right to your email inbox and even on their new mobile app, just like Mom does.
Sign up for e-notifications. Receive your bills through email, view, print, and pay your bills online, leaving time for what matters. The Water and Sewage Corporation, committed to growth, committed to quality.
Executive Printers. We're professionals. At Executive Printers, we do not participate in trash talk. We concern ourselves with the accuracy and security of your laser check. That is why we put 15 securities on your laser checks. This is not trash. This is fact. It makes fraud almost impossible. Call us today at Executive Printers at 393-5011 or email us at sales@epbahamas.com. That's sales@epbahamas.com. Executive Printers. Laser checks. We do them right.
If you're suffering from a foot injury or disorder, make plans to visit Bahamas Foot and Ankle and Blake Road in Western New Providence. There they treat a number of foot ailments and injuries like arthritis pain, bunion and hammertoes, corn and calluses. They provide diabetic foot care and education, and services also include treatment for fracture, dislocations, and sprains. They can permanently remove that ingrown toenail, plus an array of other services available. Bahamas Foot and Ankle, Blake Road. Telephone 302-4607.
I just don't believe it.
What's the matter?
I went to put money on my fixed deposit at my bank, and they ain't even offering me half a 1% interest. Now, they got to be joking.
Why don't you try BOB? BOB gives you higher interest on a range of savings and deposits, including short, medium, and long-term investments.
Now, that sounds like my kind of bank.
That's why BOB is my bank.
Earn higher interest on a range of savings and fixed deposits at BOB, your bank of solutions. Some restrictions apply.
Get on board with the Bahamas Public Parks and Public Beaches Authority. They are cleaning up the country and fixing things in our communities, like the public parks and beaches. It's such a rewarding thing. And to see the young men and women from the various communities totally engaged in massive cleanup makes it worth the effort. Local truckers and waste management companies are going over and beyond to do their part. It's time for you to do your part, hand in hand with the Bahamas Public Parks and Public Beaches Authority.
At Ron's Electric Motors, they repair and rewind all major brands of electric motors, including water pumps, generators and the generator's back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and more. They're equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts and rewind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads and are open weekdays 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them at 242-356-0249.
The next election in the Bahamas will be the most serious election in our history. You better mark it.
All I can say, if the BME don't watch out, if the PLP actually gets back in power, this country will definitely not belong to us.
You said if the PLP get back in to run, what country you talking about? Not the Bahamas.
The DNA had their function on Christie Park, right? They had about 400 people, right? I was down with the PLP sphere. They had about 5,000 people. Let me tell you something.
Push it down on me, press it down on you. No man has spoken.
This election, I go right back to Myers Monroe property. This election is going to be one we have never seen before. Perry Christie wants a third time around. The Lord is allowing him to go this way, to embarrass him, to shame him, and everybody that is following him.
To realize and to know what this country come to under the last 4 years is ridiculous.
The PLP is in a dangerous position right now, in my opinion. If you look at all the suspicious deals and moving around that they've been doing, I was sure people would be called up for treason.
Everybody, as a Bahamian, has rallied around a prime minister that they can trust.
Welcome back. This is Hard Copy on a Tuesday. And Tuesday, everything seems to be in green. And that's what is happening on the Tuesday here as we talk with the DNA, members of the DNA, and certainly those candidates who are going to be representing the DNA as the standard bearer in their respective constituencies. And of course, you heard me talk earlier about the pressure that's being mounted, excuse me, on all of those who in fact are running for big office. And that also includes the nation's chief executive, Prime Minister Christie. And certainly this is a time that people are watching with interest and looking and cross-referencing and checks and balances and dotting the I's and crossing the T's and running back for a second time, a second take a look, that kind of stuff to make sure that they've got it all squared away. So the dissolution of Parliament happens on the 11th. And thereafter, on that same day, Christie's expected to give the nation the dates of the election. We anticipate those elections may take place around the 9th of May. And that's the 21 up, looking at it. That's the 30-day period or the 21-day period on the low. And taking it all the weekends and all the holidays and stuff like that. And so when we extrapolate all those things and say, hey, it may be the 9th of May. And the big question is, are you ready? Are you ready? We're today talking with Stephen Greenslade of Golden Isles. And of course, he's from the DNA. He's going to be representing the DNA. We're also talking with Cindy Knowles from Fort Charlotte. And Cindy Knowles, of course, is one who a lot of people know. She's senior management down at Crystal Palace back then, director of services back then. And of course, she and Stephen Greenslade, by the way, actually worked together at the Crystal Palace. And so they both were directors at one point.
Yes.
A long time ago. And Cindy also went over the British Colonials for a short stint. And then she got into her own business, Destination Events. And she's her own boss, and she's decided that this is the time to run. So she's gone in Fort Charlotte with the DNA.
Yes.
And of course, there's Stephen Greenslade, who in fact is, you know him, he's been doing a number of things, former police officer. He had the program with the ankle bracelets and all those kind of things, top security kind of situation. And certainly since that time, he's been doing any number of things as far as business is concerned, and he's very likable in the area of Golden Isles. And a lot of people have been telling me, Steve, you got to get Stephen Greenstade on, because Stephen Greenstade may just be one of the winners of the DNA this time around. So I thought, maybe I should talk with Stephen Greenstade. I remember meeting Stephen Greenstade for the very first time. There I was inside the restaurant called, what was it called now? The Jamaican restaurant on Madera Street.
Yes.
And I was having me a little roadie, and felt like a little roadie that day. And then in walks this fella, sharply dressed. He just walked in. The place was full of people, and he says, "Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephen Greenstade. I'm the DNA representative for Golden Isles, and I just wanted to say hello to all of you all, because it's my tradition that when I walk into a restaurant or any place public, I introduce myself and say who I am."
Yes.
I said, right down. Who that? Because I was impressed with that, because you know what it is, you waiting for your food, and the fella just break the silence. Bam! And he said, well, who this man is?
That's Steve.
And that is how I met him.
Yeah.
Wow. That's the absolute truth.
It is.
And I said, well, if he goes around doing that kind of stuff, I said, that's a good touch. Yeah. I thought to myself, I said, that's a good touch, I mean, if everybody did that, we would know who everybody is. And certainly if they're running in politics, that's a beautiful way to introduce yourself. Right. And he did that, the top of his voice, and everybody's looking around. They say, oh, you're Stephen Greenstade. Yeah. People started shaking hands. I say, oh, that is a good touch.
Yeah.
That's how I met him. How you doing today?
I'm wonderful, Steve. Thanks very much for having us on the show.
Wonderful. My pleasure. Yeah. And of course, Cindy, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you very much.
And the first time I met Cindy, see, I didn't realize that I knew Cindy. The first time I met Cindy, here's this attractive lady standing on the side of this other attractive lady. And they saw me looking, and they say, Steve, what you looking at? That's what, that wasn't her. That was Christine Humes who said that. Her friend.
Yeah.
Christine Humes is the sister of Mark Humes, who lives in Chippingham.
Yes.
All right.
And so Fort Charlotte, that's when I met her. That's how it happened.
That's the linebacker.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm happy to have you both, because I'm interested in finding out just what is really going on. We've heard all the talk, the DNA talk, and we know that the DNA is showing some promise this time around.
Yes.
Even though some people believe that they've faded and that they may not be up to scratch like they were in 2012 when they got the kind of vote that was interesting, somewhere around about 13,000 supporters and or people who voted for them, and that was somewhere around about 8% thereabouts. And they made a lot of, well, they made impact, and they damaged the opposition party at the time, Free National Movement. And of course, the rest is history. The Free National Movement is opposition. And certainly, well, Perry Christie and his team, they're the ones who won the government. Right. So you cannot slacken off and take the DNA very, very lightly and say, well, maybe they won't be an issue this time. People would like to think that. But is that really the case? Is the DNA still in that stage of potency where they can really do something inside this general election? I mean, let me ask you. Go ahead, Steve. Tell me.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes. And personally, I believe the DNA stands a great chance of winning this election.
You believe so?
I believe so.
You
with
feel
all
that?
my heart. I feel that with all my heart.
You're a diehard DNA.
I'm a DNA member, representative. If you want to call it diehard, I'm loyal to the party. The party is loyal to me. I've made a lot of professional friendship and relationships and working along with the persons who are in the DNA. I understand the party structure. I'm learning more and more about politics as I go along every day. I believe in the philosophy of the party. It lines up with my philosophy in terms of putting Bahamians first, empowering Bahamians, holding the people of the Bahamas to the highest esteem. And I believe because of the true essence of the DNA, we will win this next election.
How about you, Chris? I mean, not Chris, Cindy.
Cindy.
How about you? What is your gut feeling? What's happening here?
Well, first of all, before I share my gut feelings with you, Steve, allow me to say hello to Fort Charlotte and thank you. I am how humble and grateful I am to the welcome I've gotten on the ground in Fort Charlotte You know, we have about 13 communities,
Mhm.
and I've hit about 10 of them already. And really, the response has been so overwhelmingly positive. I am very grateful. Now, you said all those things that the DNA did in 2012. We were 11 months old. Look at us now. We
You're older
are
now and wiser.
older, wiser, stronger, and we are ready. Okay, we are ready to give the Bahamian a better life.
Yes.
We have been listening to the Bahamians. Okay, unlike the current government or the previous government, we listen and we base what the direction that the Bahamas need to go in based on what the needs of the people are. We ready.
Yeah.
And you're ready in Fort Charlotte.
We are ready in Fort Charlotte.
I got you.
Being on the ground, listening to what the residents of Fort Charlotte say their needs are. We are ready based on that. I am ready now to serve Fort Charlotte based on their needs.
I got a question for you, because her best friend, or one of your friends, is Christine Humes.
Right.
Christine Humes' brother is Mark Humes.
Yes.
Mark Humes is the young man who ran in Fort Charlotte for the DNA before.
Yes.
And these days, now you have replaced Mark Humes in the DNA and in Fort Charlotte, where it's his home constituency.
Right.
And now Mark is running for the FNM. Mark Humes is going to be the standard bearer for the Free National Movement. That's a lot of twist and turn that happened inside
First
there.
of all,
I mean,
Fort Charlotte
it
is
could be
also
complicated.
Fort Charlotte is also my home. It's been my home for the past 33 plus
Yes.
years. I know I look like a teeny papa, but it's been my home for the past 33 plus years. Mark Humes and I would not just grew up in the same neighborhood, we went to high school together. So this is not about Mark or the other candidate. For me, this is about Fort Charlotte. Okay, the direction that Fort Charlotte is going in now, and listening to the residents of Fort Charlotte, we're not happy with it. And I'm a mother of a 5-year-old and an 8-year-old, and I am scared to death right now
Is that right?
of the direction that this country is going in. I am so afraid of what will this country look like by the time my boys become young men. So I can get disgusted and fed up and do like some people do, and
You decide to do
go to
something about it.
Canada.
You decide to do something about it.
Right, but
Yeah.
instead,
You get
no,
involved.
I want to. I gotta fix this. So they're my boys are my driving force, but the best thing for my country is my ultimate goal.
Right.
Understood. Stephen Greenslade, let's talk for a minute, because I know that you have tremendous experience in a lot of things, from crime fighting to the way that you can administer and manage things in the crime sector. And crime is big business in the Bahamas these days, unfortunately, because everybody's buying burglar bars and screen doors and everything else, and everybody seems to have a gun and a little shiny friend and that kind of stuff. And everybody seems to be doing the Bankley and Bop and all that kind of stuff. You've got to be in a position to try to bring all of those things together, and also at the same time be very, very compassionate and understanding in a constituency that you are in called Golden Isles. I want you to first and foremost tell me about this constituency of Golden Isles. We've got Vaughn Miller running in Golden Isles now. He just got there after Kenyatta Gibson pulled out. And Vaughn is running for the Free National Movement. He's a broadcaster and was one who played a lot of sports and basketball and that kind of stuff. So he has some popularity. Then there's also Alcides, who is the state minister for finance, and he's been taking it on the chin in recent times. And then, of course, there's Stephen Greenslade, the person who a lot of people told me, from I've been going into the area the last 2-3 months, that he is very popular and gaining strength. What's your strength factor inside that area called Golden Isles, and how do you believe that you will all fit up, size up yourself with a Vaughn, with an Alcides, and get the job done? Talk to me.
What I think, and before I go there, I would say, I want to say a pleasant good afternoon to the community of Golden Isles. Forgive me. It's a wonderful community. It's a diverse community that has residents who fall in each category of society. And for me, I think what I did coming into the arena is to strip away the political lens.
Okay.
And I looked at this opportunity as an opportunity for me to take part in service at a national level. When I made my decision to get involved in politics, it was one of two decisions I was considering in terms of service to our society, service to the community.
Mhm.
And one direction would be service through the clergy or through the church, and the other direction would have been service through politics. And I was more drawn to politics after I saw some of the physical conditions in the country and realized that those conditions were a result of a oversight, I would use for a better word, lack of a better word, in our governing structure or systems. And so I decided to get involved in politics to help, bottom line, to help. And since being ratified, I've had many opportunities to help persons in the community. And I think those opportunities allow the community to connect with me in the way we have connected.
Yeah.
And it's really giving me a guiding path on what to do in terms of representing the community.
So you've been able to do a number of things, and I watch your campaign as from afar. I don't know what's happening intimately, but I watch you. I see your style. Your styling is par excellence. I mean,
thank you.
Your styling. I see your building. I say, my goodness, this fella come ready. This one come tough. This fella ready for this. And I see your paraphernalia, your shirts, I see all your cars and your buses, the things that you put onto those things, how you've decorated them. And this is almost a year ago.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about something that just happened this political season.
Right.
I saw all the stuff that you did, and I was always like, well, this fella, he looked like he's really put down stakes inside this area, because these people are gravitating to him. And every time I pass there, the place is busy.
Yes.
You see people all around all the time. And I said, well, I've got to talk with him. And then when I met you, I decided, yeah, we can talk. And you're saying to me now that the people have gravitated to you because you seem to be someone who have a lot to offer. And I asked the other part of that question was whether or not you see how you size up with a Vaughn Miller, who's popular, and a Michael Akitas, who is the incumbent. Now, this is going to be an extraordinary general election in your constituency.
This is a particularly interesting race in Golden Isles. Like you said, you have three Bahamians who are very developed as persons, as people, who I think have a great commitment to national service and community service, and who are representing three different parties and three different philosophies. I met Mike a couple of years ago, and we share a professional relationship in terms of our not cordial and respect for each other. We haven't had the opportunity to work together. And I use the term professional because that's the approach I use when I'm dealing with anybody until their behavior, their action determine otherwise. I've met Brother Vaughn. We knew each other years ago, but we didn't, actually have a deep relationship. So we basically got reacquainted on the campaign trail.
Okay.
And the ironic thing about that is we share basically the same views about national service and what needs to be done in the country.
Is that right?
Yes, we do. And the difference is, again, we're in three different parties. Mike's party had an opportunity to govern for 25 years at first, and then another 10 years. Vaughn's party had an opportunity to govern for 15 years. My party is just vying for the opportunity to govern. But the difference in my mind is the fundamental differences in my mind is for us in the DNA is I see us have a better opportunity to stay focused in the governing responsibility because we don't have those skeletons in the closet, so to speak, politically or in a governing record that will haunt us once we take office. So we have the ability to be more focused.
It's a fresh start.
A fresh start. And in my mind, that's what the Bahamian society need now. A governing administration that could be focused, go straight to work, deal with the issues, resolve them, look at policies that will keep us stable, improve our conditions and keep us stable and move the country forward.
So I suppose, in summing up, all of that too is what attracted you to this group of people called the DNA, who have, you share the same kind of philosophy, the same ideology. You see what you want to do and you found the right fit.
Yes.
Has that been the same story for you, Cindy?
Most definitely. You know, when for the past 16 months or so, I've been on the ground campaigning, initially as the chairperson, and then before I took on the baton to be the candidate. And it was about, I did it because I care about wanting a better life for the Bahamians. And in looking at the DNA's philosophy, the policies, everything speaks to that direction. And it speaks to fairness. You know, when you look at something you might think right now should be so simple, a fixed election day. 21st century.
That's doable. I mean, we haven't done it.
But you got to care. Certain things might seem simple to do, but if you don't care in your heart about the best interest for the people, then you're not going to make an effort to get it done. And that's what really attracted me to the DNA. The DNA is an organization that's made up of Bahamians who truly care about working for the best interests of the Bahamian people.
Let me piggyback on what Cindy has just said. When I came into the DNA and started to do my assessment of everybody in there, I listened. I did a lot of listening at first. I didn't have hardly have much to say. Now I think I talk too much.
You talk too much?
Oh, yeah. He pulls out the whip, too.
And I was a quiet fellow most of my life.
Yes.
But I say this process really turned another corner for me. But you know what? One of the things that gave me comfort in our first Congress meeting, when I saw Cindy, I say, if Cindy in this party, it's a strong party. It have principles, and right will happen here, or else it will be challenged. Let me tell you, there's no when there are items to be discussed, there's no pushing nothing down no one's throat. The DNA is filled of smart, fiery people. And we discuss,
very opinionated, and they express themselves.
And they express themselves, they're allowed to express themselves. They express themselves and we come to mutual agreements before we move forward on any item.
Do you believe that people have a misconception of the DNA, the Democratic National Alliance? Do you think that there's a misconception? And what do you owe that misconception to? I'll tell you why I asked that question. Some people say that misconception about the DNA not being the party that's supposed to be able to be here at this time is that they see too much of the leadership or the leader and not enough of the Greenslade, the Cindy Knowles, the others, the Smith, the young man in Fox Hill. They don't see enough of that. And I think that he made some adjustments to it. I've noticed that it's changed a little bit in the last year, thereabouts. And you started to see other people like Yori Camp and others. They started to get into their own groove and do more things. You saw more. You saw more of the chairman Wilson. You saw more of the gentleman, the deputy leader of the party, Chris. And you started to see them trying to do some other things. And then you've gotten new people into the party that has reinforced that hey, maybe they can be an alternative. But what do you think is owing to that belief that there is a kind of something that's hovering over the heads of the DNA that they're misunderstood? Talk to me about that, both Cindy and yourself.
Okay. I believe it's due to propaganda for the most part.
Okay.
Propaganda and criticisms that had no base.
Undue criticism.
Undue criticism. That became believable because it was repeated so much. It became a norm. And if persons wouldn't analyze properly, they would take that criticism as truth and turn it into truth, and that becomes the perception. But I can tell you that the criticism or the perception that was placed around the DNA is completely wrong. It's completely wrong. The DNA is a very fair and balanced organization. Yes, disagreements exist everywhere.
Mhm.
And I use the analogy at times with not just in the political interactions, but also in general, that wherever 2 or 3 people are gathered to deal with anything, especially in our culture where, again, we have a lot of smart people
Mhm.
and we would want to express ourselves, you will find disagreements. But the bottom line is maturity, the ability to just conversate and discuss an issue and find ways of addressing it.
Mhm.
And everybody at the end of the day agreeing that the bigger picture or what is best for all and sundry is more important than what is best for just myself
Mhm.
in this equation.
Understood.
And we are a party that is very matured. You spoke about and mentioned that in the past, our leader and our deputy leader were more in the forefront. Yes, that was the case because of
Mhm.
the circumstances that we were attracting candidates, we were vetting candidates, we were as candidates get ratified and infused into the party and into their respective constituencies, they would go out and do their connecting with the community.
Mhm.
I'll say this much, we have an expert in every field of profession representing the DNA, every field of profession. So you wouldn't find, for example, you wouldn't find a doctor sitting in the seat as a minister of national security. You'll find a law enforcement personnel who has the experience and the background to be able to interpret the language, to decipher information, to determine whether reports might be more accurate than not, and to be able to communicate with the leaders in the various areas, for example, in national security,
Mhm.
to be able to communicate with the law enforcement leaders at a level where you come to quick decisions, but impactful decisions that move the country forward, that help to keep us stable, and the like. You have I can let you go right now, Cindy. Sorry.
Yeah.
You have for our identified representative for the Ministry of Health is a physician,
Mhm.
proven physician. Our designated minister for education is a proven educator.
So what you're telling me is that you've got people who are almost like shadow cabinet people right now, and
Yes.
that you can form a government
Well,
because you've got people who are able to go in there and get the job done.
Absolutely.
Steve,
In their special
we're
field.
going to give you a little scoop right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tomorrow, we will, our leader, Mr. McCartney, and our entire leadership team will be presenting our shadow cabinet team
Okay,
to
that's
the
interesting.
nation
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Because that's
First
a
time
concern.
ever.
People are thinking that
Oh,
you don't have the
listen,
enough personnel to reflect
we
a
are
shadow
ready.
cabinet.
We are
Mhm.
ready. And basically, we're going to be introducing you to the next government of the Bahamas.
That's going to happen tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Tomorrow. Yes.
Let's get back to your answer
But
on the point that I
when
raised.
you talk about that, yeah,
Mhm.
the perception, the fact is, if it's your perception, that's your reality.
Mhm.
And the DNA recognize that. And I think the fact that we made the adjustments speaks to our ability to listen to the Bahamian,
Mhm.
the Bahamian voters, the Bahamian citizens, because their opinion is what counts. Their perception is what matters.
Mhm.
We listened and we made the adjustments, and we're continuing to listen and maintain that flexibility and that's the type of government we would be.
Right.
Understood.
We will listen to you, and where is practical, then make the adjustments.
Go ahead.
And one more point on that note before we move forward. And for me, what's most important is that the parties would form policy based on the issues, and those policies are brought to the table in terms of when it comes to governing. So I think it's best for us to look at the party policies that are being presented
Mhm.
in terms of the plans. And once we accept those policies, a proposal in terms of the way forward in governance, and that party is successful at the polls, that party now carries out that mandate in terms of the policies that we want to put in place, whether they want to amend legislation, amend laws to keep the country stable, move it forward.
Mhm.
So I would say to the general public, it's very important to look at the plans of each party in terms of its policy position and determine whether or not it's something you agree with.
Now, you've got policy positions already written, and I am supposing that you have them up on the website, things like that.
Yes, mydnaparty.org.
So people can go there and see what the DNA plans are for crime, what the
Yes.
DNA plans are for health, education, et cetera,
Yeah.
and even things along the lines of morality, because that came up yesterday
Yes.
on the show with Shelley Moss,
Yes.
that
Yeah.
somebody would call and say, man, the DNA I'm talking about, they for same-sex marriage and all kinds of stuff, and I don't know if it's propaganda because I didn't check the website to read on it, but it being said would make one say, wait a second, and that kind of thing, and take another look. But the thing is, we are going into the election cycle this time based upon the last referendum that we had that was about these kinds of issues, gender equality and so forth and so on. And so that is somehow leaving a bad taste in the mouth of some people because they're thinking, if that's anything to do with what they're talking about, we wouldn't want any part of them. Why don't you address that? Because these things, as you said, policies is how we ought to take a look at the party and see what they're projecting if they were to become the government of the Bahamas. What of this whole idea about the support for the LGBT community and the fact that, not the fact, but the talk, I don't know to be fact, that the leadership has no difficulty with any of those kinds of issues?
And I stand to be corrected, and I'm not quoting the leadership, but to the best of my knowledge, my understanding is he feels that every Bahamian has a right to live there, to choose the lifestyle they choose to live. Of course, not breaking any laws on all
Within
of
the
that.
law,
Yeah,
within the
within the
framework of the
law.
law. Mhm.
But that's not to say that will become the policy or is the policy of the DNA or will
Mhm.
become the policy of the government. No,
Mhm.
that's your private lifestyle. That's your private
Mhm.
lifestyle.
Yeah, once it's not
And
infringed
well
upon.
respect- it does not
yeah.
infringe upon
Well-
anyone else.
Well, I can understand that, these things, we have got different strokes for different folks, different people
Exactly.
with different backgrounds, different things that people do. And as long as this is not a matter of some stamp of approval, just because you are looking for votes and you say, well, whatever goes,
No.
whatever buck up goes, I don't think that brand doesn't
by
hit
all
me as
means,
that
not at
that
all.
kind of
Not at
individual.
all.
Because
Not
I do
at
know him a
all.
little bit.
Yeah.
It doesn't hit
Yes.
me as that. But people have said that, and that's why I wanted you to perhaps as best, and you addressed it, as to how people should govern themselves in the approach to the DNA on that matter of morality. But I'm sure that you all are smart enough to know that if there is something there that's questionable, that you ought to look at it, tweak it, and get back
Yes.
to the Bahamian public on it.
Yeah.
I've got many questions, and I'm talking with Cindy No. She's here with me today from Fort Charlotte. She is hoping to be the next member of parliament for the Fort Charlotte constituency, and she's going to be taking on Alfred Sayers in that constituency, a Mark Humes in that constituency for the Free National Movement, Alfred Sayers for the PLP. And there's something peculiar about this election, You know what's peculiar about it? That Sayers, for instance, is one who people like, but one who they are now looking at through another lens because of his run in the race for Christie and his loss in that race and his sudden departure from the forefront and the way that the PLP seemed to have treated him and the way that they take piece of his constituency, because I live in Fort Charles, so I know the whole
Yes.
area. And now they take that polling division number 1, comes through Infantry Road, goes around Tyler Street, comes back to Nassau Street, and yuck it from McGee to BJ. People saw that as a penalty because Sayers ran for the PLP or ran for the leadership. See, that's a peculiar matter because here it is that shows a weakness within the PLP that that's what they do and they could care less about it. And that's their internal business, which is their right. But that goes into the public, and in the public domain, people get to judge you and say, I don't like how y'all did that. I don't like how y'all did this. I don't know if I want to support them because really, maybe Sayers will go down with the ship, the whole ship, in this wave. You see, that's one of the things that's kind of interesting. And so here's Cindy with it, and here's Mark in there from the Free National Movement, who could be the beneficiaries of this kind of feeling that people have in the public. Mind you, like I said, the people love Sayers, but they look at some other fundamental things that makes that particular race exciting. Same thing in your area. People love. They did like Kenyatta Gibson, but he pulled out. And when he pulled out, they had to do a quick little come in, Vaughn, jump in there, do this. And so Vaughn is Johnny come lately in that area when he really wanted to be in Eleuthera. And while he'll serve anywhere because he's very popular and very likable, I think that too leaves a little peculiar situation, especially now that, and what's even more peculiar is that that Alcides is now under the brunt of the gun from a Christie on the inside of his party, and he is messed up from that rally down in Cable Beach when he talked about that's where the VAT money gone. That has been so careless upon him that could hurt him. And so that leaves a Stephen Greenslade who has been there a long time before all of them, and has established himself in that community, and it's a fresh start.
I'll say
it's
that.
a peculiar matter. It's a peculiar situation.
Yeah, Cindy, go for it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Like you say, let's talk. Mr. Says, likable guy. I have greatest respect for him. I voted for him at some point in my life, you know, being in Fort Charlotte for 33 plus years. But again, listening to the people on the ground is a little bit of bad taste in their mouths still, because we're feeling we were abandoned. Okay, we were abandoned, and then we were turned over to someone not worthy of us, and then
Andre, Dr. Andre Rollins,
and then completely ignored us. You know, so we've had nothing for the past 5 years as a result of who we were turned over to, if you understand that. So there's a bit of a bad taste on the ground in regards to that. Unlike Mr. Says, I have the complete 100% support of my party, of my leadership team, as it relates to the direction I would like to see the country going in, and more importantly, the direction for Fort Charlotte. I have their complete 100% support with that. As it relates to Mr. Humes, well, you know, like I said, we're classmates. We both grew up in Fort Charlotte. I think our desires might be a bit different. Again, it's a whole lot more personal for me because that's where I am. My husband and I are raising our boys, and that's where they're learning to become young men. So we want the very best, like any parent, we want the very best for our children. The very best starts with the way you live, the kind of community you're going to develop. So that's going to be my goal, to make sure Fort Charlotte is the envious of all the communities, Golden Isles, and everybody else. Envious of all the communities, being one of the best communities to raise your family, have a business like you, Mr. McKinney, and retire. You know, we're going to be the envious of that. And I'm not going to do this alone. I'm going to do this with the residents of Fort Charlotte.
Good.
You know, that's my style. That's the style of the DNA. We do it together. So I think as it relates to Mark and I, the difference is we believe in different leadership style. That's why he chose to leave the DNA. You know, our beliefs in how things are done are different.
Understood. Fair enough. Stephen Greenslade.
All the talk about Stephen Greenslade and the possibilities of Stephen Greenslade becoming the next member of Parliament for Golden Isles has put a huge target on my back. But I'm a turtle, if you will, when it comes down to public interaction. I have a thick skin. I don't let anything get under my skin. I believe in principles. I believe in doing the right things. Persons may challenge that based on something that's been in the atmosphere now. But the point is, at the end of the day, I can prove on record where I would do the right things, make the right decisions, especially where people is involved, make the right decisions to ensure that I don't do anything that infringe on the rights of other people. In terms of our competition in the race, I think my greatest advantage really is myself in terms of the type of person I am. When people get to know me, they connect with me. I connect with them, and I'm a straight up person. I'm a straight up person.
What you see is what you get.
What you see is what you get. If you do right, you get my support. If you do wrong, you get what comes behind that. If there's consequences to follow, you will face those consequences. And I'll use a story about my son, who will be very upset that I talk his business in public. But my son worked for the family business, and when my son breached the company policy, he got fired. My point is, I believe in enforcing rules, because when you enforce rules, you maintain law and order.
It's your discipline.
And you discipline and the organization of the institution you're addressing, right? So I believe in enforcing rules. And my thing with respect to law enforcement and governance, just moving away from the question a little bit, is if we enforce our laws, we will see a huge reduction in crime. We simply enforce the laws and hold people responsible for their actions and cause people to face the consequences of their actions. I think we'll see great reductions in our laws, coupled with a lot of the other things we need to do in the society in terms of social development, family development, and community development.
Understood.
Yes. And as for my opponent, Mr. Alcides, I sympathize with him, because I think what he endured yesterday through the utterance of his leader was very unfortunate. I sympathize with him, and I trust that they get that sorted out within their organization. I have no opinion on it, because I'm not in there to see both sides.
Anyway, what is happening here today? We're talking with Stephen Greenslade, and we're also talking with Cindy Knowles. Stephen Greenslade comes out of Golden Isles. That's where he's running for the DNA. And Cindy Knowles, she's in Fort Charlotte. She's running there for the DNA as well. There are some things that I want to get to quickly before I open my lines. And by the way, I'm going to open my lines in a minute. So if you want to queue up, here are what the numbers are. 325-023546, 325-024243, and 325-025253. You can also WhatsApp and Texas, and those numbers are 376-376-9234. You can also send us a text or WhatsApp, and we'll get that. Now, this final question before I run to the break, before I open the lines and take some calls, and that is this. The people, the opponents of the DNA, those who are persuaded that don't go that way, stay our way, and there are a lot of fringe parties and the rest of it. They're saying, and the Free National Movement's at the forefront of this, they're saying a vote for the DNA is a vote for the PLP. I'm sure you've heard that. Now, that itself is a kind of like a monkey on your back if you can dispel that. You've got a couple of weeks to dispel it.
Right.
This is April.
Yeah.
Elections may be by May, early May, around the 9th, thereabouts. How do you dispel that, and how do you kind of like pivot from that particular position, that perception? And perceptions, as you said right there, is your reality.
Yeah.
And 99% of your reality could be that what this perception is, that a vote for the DNA is a vote for the PLP. First, why are they saying that? I mean, I see the obvious thing, but why are they saying that? And why do they continue to say that, even though you've been trying to shake that off and say, that's not so, that's foolishness, that's propaganda? How do you take a crack at that? Go ahead, Cindy, and I'll get you, Greenslade.
Okay, like you said, Steve, it's propaganda. But listen to this now. 5 years ago, you fired CEO because obviously they weren't doing what you feel they should be doing. And now this current CEO still not doing running your company the way you think it should be run. So what are you going to do? Go back and hire the CEO that you just fired? It's not they're the same in terms of they've had their chance. They have shown you, the PLP and the FNM have shown you what they can and cannot do. And based on the last election, based on what people are saying now, what the Bahamians are saying now, you're not happy with the performance. So they're the same. They're the same in when you look at how the FNM handled the then Batelco fiasco, and now what's going on with Bahama. What's going on with that?
One for one,
right? The PLP ran on in their last election. Their campaign focused on the number of murders that was taking place under the F&M administration.
Mhm.
Now the PLP has basically surpassed on what the F&M did.
Mhm.
One and the same. PLP and the F&M are the same two sides of the same coin. The DNA has not had that opportunity to show you what we can and or cannot do to be that new CEO for you. So we're asking for that opportunity, point blank. We're asking for that opportunity. The DNA is, and the F&M and the PLP are not, the DNA is not the same. Why? When you look at our policies, when you look at our beliefs, if PLP and DNA was the same, we would have had the one term. There would not, for the prime minister, there would not be an issue right now on whether or not the prime minister was going to retire or going to run for the next election. So if you look at our policies, if you look at our governance, if you go to our webpage, look at our governance, it speaks to how the DNA, by our standards, by our policies, differs from what the country has experienced in the past 10 years under two different administrations.
Yeah.
I understand you very clearly. Go ahead,
Right.
Stephen.
And, I'll only say, in addition to what Cindy has already said, that propaganda worked well during the last election cycle. Last election cycle, it was said that a vote for the DNA was a vote for the F&M. The F&M was then the governing party, and their feet was to the fire, so to speak, during the election cycle. Their rating or their approval rating was low, and the opponents of the DNA started fitting to attach the DNA to the F&M then, but it probably worked then. Now we've had 5 years to see that is absolutely not true. The DNA is the DNA. The Democratic National Alliance Party is the Democratic National Alliance Party. It has its own philosophies, it has its views, it has its policies, it has its way of governance, and it's demonstrating that every day now. There's no ad from the DNA that will say, "Oh, we're part of the PLP," or "we're part of the F&M." It's say we're the DNA. And of course, in this process, we know that propaganda will be put out there, false assertions will be put out there, accusations will be put out there, untruths, all sorts of things. That's why I think they call it the silly season.
Yes.
Right? So I think this particular election cycle is so crucial for the Bahamas that we have to look as the voting public, look at the records of these parties, look at the message that is being brought forward, and be analytical in our assessment of the information we're hearing, and not run behind the emotional propaganda.
Get the facts. Look at what the situation is.
Analyze it
Look at the
properly.
policies, that kind of thing.
Right.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
We're talking with Stephen Greenslade today from Golden Isles, the DNA representative there, and Cindy Knowles, who's from Fort Charlotte, and she's the DNA's representative in the next upcoming general elections, somewheres around perhaps next month, thereabouts, early. And they're both saying that they're ready, and they're both also laying out some things that this is a kind of sobering kind of conversation, because I don't believe that people have been really looking at what the DNA is trying to say, what they're offering, and talking with candidates like yourself, who in fact seem to have a good grasp of what is going on and what you want to articulate to the Bahamian public. 325-0235 or 6 is how you can call me. Let me take this call before I run to the break and take this on the phone line. Good afternoon. How are you?
Hey, Steve, how you doing today?
Very good, thanks. I'm fine, thanks. How you do?
Doing great. And of course, good afternoon to Stephen Greenslade and Cindy Knowles.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You both are doing an excellent job representing the policies, procedures, and giving insight of the DNA party. I am proud to say that it's a great day to be a DNA. Steve, one thing, as you always hear me say on the radio, especially whenever our DNA comrades are in studio, is simply this. Until we get to the point where Bahamians accept that the DNA
DNA party is all about inclusion. We care about the Bahamian people. We care about this country. We care about the situation that we are in right now. We are all about finding relief, and definitely we are all about putting Bahamians first. As you can hear, Stephen Greenslade and Cindy Knowles have done an excellent job of espousing the mindset that we in the DNA have for our Bahamian people. Some way, somehow, we have to work harder, I guess, to dispel the myth that a vote for the DNA is a vote for the PLP, or in the last election, a vote for the FNM. Any vote that the DNA receives is a vote for the DNA. We cannot say that any louder, any clearer. We need to somehow dispel and remove the detractors, and I'll end with this. The detractors, we have to get them to understand that their mindsets in trying to convince the Bahamian people that the DNA is not a force to be reckoned with, or our policies and procedures are very in step with what we are getting now. We have to do a better job in getting that message out there to get the people to understand that we care about our people, we care about the Bahamas, we want what's best for this country and its people, and we will continue that fight until the bell is rung and the DNA becomes the next government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. I thank you for taking my call.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. 325-023546. Yes, Cindy.
And Steve, if I may comment on that, you know, I think we are being very effective in dispelling that myth. We spend most of the afternoon with quite a number of students at the University of the Bahamas, and they see us as the DNA.
Right.
That's it. They see us as the DNA with no connection to the other parties, and they just want to know that we are on the ground working to help save this country.
Understood.
Yeah, and you know, the bottom line is for us to remain focused, stick on our message, show where we are different from any other political organization, and just believe in ourselves and keep the faith that we'll be victorious. And I think that's what will happen for us.
Is the message getting through? I'll turn my attention to that in just a minute. Hard copy, how are you?
Good afternoon, Steve. How you doing?
Thank you kindly. All is well.
Good afternoon to you guys.
Good afternoon.
All right. I have two questions. Number one, I tuned a little late, so please forgive me if I'm asking a question I was already asked. One, when will the DNA name all their candidates?
Okay.
Yes, we plan to complete our ratification within the next week. And we'll have a full slate of candidates representing all communities, all constituencies in the upcoming election.
All right, thank you so much. Also, Mr. Greenslade, I know you're quite aware that there's a video going around on social media, very viral,
Yeah.
saying that there was a young man who worked for you
Yeah.
at ICS, and he said that he was let go after when voice slowed him, but also too that because of the part where you didn't pay them, but allegedly that you did not pay them no overtime pay. You didn't want to pay the staff, and I see where staff members post up the shifts, the times and everything as it relates to not being paid overtime. I want to know if this is the case, why should you be elected to represent possibly the armed forces within a cabinet minister position, and when right now you're not following the law? Like I said, allegedly, I'm just saying, because if it is true, then that is a major problem, Mr. Greenslade. Can you please address that?
I appreciate your call. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, that matter is completely distorted. And I'll explain this much because, you know, we have clients who we do business with, and trying to delineate the full circumstances of both sides of that issue will jeopardize confidentiality tremendously, and I won't be able to do that. But I am certain that if that matter is taken to the appropriate forums, that the company would be able to demonstrate where it has always done right by its staff. Unfortunately, based on what I've seen as what you call a scope of work layout in terms of certain points of one of the properties that we cover. And from that particular layout, the supervisors will pen in the persons who will be working at any particular point. And the persons who put that information out there distorted the information to make it appear as if individuals were being overworked or indiscriminately dealt with. ICS came into the private security sector in 1994. For most of that time, we did private investigation services and other services and not guard services, so to speak. We got into the guard service area of the business in 2003. And when we got into that area of the business, we realized that there was a huge problem with respect to the same issue of how overtime is addressed. And we've been to the labor board over and repeatedly on that matter, and we've been successful in many of those. Matter of fact, we've been successful in all of those cases. And this one too will go through that channel, and we expect to be successful in this one as well.
Okay.
I'm not a person who believes in treating other people unfairly. Anybody who knows me could attest to that. It's unfortunate that persons who may have been terminated from ICS for cause would turn around and build their case. And, you know, that's their right. If an individual feel that they have a grievance, they have a right to air that grievance in the appropriate form so that it could be addressed. All right. And unfortunately, the individual posts a video indicating some things that were not actually true, and it became believable. It seemed to have become believable, and is an issue that we're addressing as a company. Personally, I'm not perturbed by it because I know the truth, and the truth will always set you free.
There you go. Hard copy, how you doing?
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, sir. I'm listening to you. Go ahead quickly.
Good afternoon to your guests as well.
Yes.
I'm listening to both of your guests, Steve, Mr. Gainslade, and Ms. Knowles. And I mean, I like what they're saying, and they both seem to be upright persons in their beliefs and ideologies. However, looking at it analytically and from a realistic point of view, your leadership is a theme. I'll tell you what the reflection is in the public, that your leadership has a trust deficit. And I say that because on 2 occasions, you know, he's been in the public where he came across either not remembering something or not recalling something. And in both of those instances involving the leader of the opposition and the leader of the FNM party, he just came across as completely untrustworthy and disingenuous. And so that is a bit suspect in that regard, because if he's doing that now, that's more of the same in terms of what the PLP is offering. In addition, when you look at, I had an opportunity to view your policies, which have a number of significant ideas and everything like that. But the thing that you cannot run from is what actually happened in 2012. And that was when the DNA split the vote, it caused the PLP to come into power. I mean, that's fact. That's not something that happened. That happened. So what are you going to do to prevent or to sway a person's mindset from believing that it will happen again? If you split the vote, it split the vote in the PLP's favor, and then the PLP is back in for an additional 5 years.
Okay.
I think that's where you need to explain that to the Bahamian people, and you need to deal with the trust deficit that I just outlined to you.
I appreciate your call. Thank you very much for your comments, and Gainslade is willing to tackle those.
Right. First of all, the trust issue you mentioned in our leadership don't exist. I've worked with Mr. McCartney as a representative for the area I lived in when he was representative for Bamboo Town under the FNM administration. And I saw a genuine, hard-working individual who was interested in the upliftment of this country back then. And I started to follow his representation and take part in it. And we dealt with the landfill issue back then. And at that time, the main issue back at the landfill was the issue of scavenging and persons who were going there and using refuge from the dump as their way of life. We thought back then that was a dangerous thing to do, and we got involved and brought some attention to it, and that caused me to start following Mr. McCartney. And then I had an opportunity to interact with him off and on during the times that he was out of Parliament. And I find a trustworthy, honest individual who I believe has gained my respect and I'm a very analytical person. You don't just come and pull nothing on me. And I don't say that to be boastful. I say that because that's the way it is. You tell me something, I'm going to analyze that before I accept that as truth. And evidence will lead me to conclude whether that's true or not. And I haven't seen Mr. McCartney mislead me or mislead the organization in any way. Misconceptions come up all the time, but the person who is determining whether or not they accept an individual as an honest person must do that analysis to make that determination.
No question about it.
So that said, I have every confidence in Mr. McCartney as a leader and a potential prime minister, and that's based on analysis. That's not based because he's the leader of the DNA. I don't roll like that. That's based on analysis, and that's based on what he has proven to me as an individual, as both a citizen, as a person who is connecting with him to serve, as a person who is going to serve other people and represent policy making for this country. The other part of that point is the DNA as a party. Again, we can say it all day, is ready to govern. The DNA is ready to govern. I don't think we'll have a trust issue once the Bahamian people realize and see what is done in a DNA governing administration.
This gentleman seemed to be concerned about the splitting of the vote because of the non-committal of the groups getting together, F&M, DNA, to unanimously decide that this is what we're going to be, unanimity, to the point where we are one, and that's not happened. No one can make that happen. I mean, if it didn't happen weeks ago, and it's not going to happen right now unless there's some serious miracle that will take place that will just blow us all away for that to happen. But there's also a determination that can happen even after things go. As an example, when the results come out and we don't know what the results will be, it may be a cause for some consideration for the amalgamation. And sometimes coalitions happen after. Not necessarily before. We've been always trying to put things together before, and that may be a mistake because I myself was involved with a group that was trying to put the coalition together before, and maybe the key is to get it together afterward and see how best you can mesh and make some things happen. Let the people speak first.
Yes, and if I may say also, excuse me, my experience with Brian as a leader is quite different. I guess this is the first I'm hearing about the trust issue coming up. Brian and I have been friends from before he went off to college. We've been friends that long, so I'm almost kind of the wrong person to ask about him as other people might see him, because I know him I've seen him go from being a shy person, really, always taking the backseat to his brother Kurt, even though Brian was the older, but he Kurt was the more outgoing one. So politics or his profession has kind of forced him to be that outgoing person, but if you left it to him, he's fine taking the back seat. But politics has forced him now. Why did he go the opposite of his personality? Brian cares about, it could be better than this for you. He has a strong passion about a better life for people, and a long time ago when he first got into politics, we had a conversation. It was more or less like he found the solution, or he know that there is a formula for Bahamians to have the best life that they desire. And the government is aware of it, but doesn't care enough to put in the work to make it happen for all Bahamians. If that's what you want, you're going to put in the work, it can happen. And that's his passion. And I think you see that coming out sometimes when he's talking about crime, or he's talking about the corruption that he knows so well that exists. And maybe it's taken, wrong by some people, and they're not seeing it and judging it for the facts. And so and he listens, and so he knows that sometimes you got to tune it down so they can pay attention to the facts and don't get too emotional.
Cindy said something that was very key in Brian's overall persona, and the fact that he is a bit shy. I detected that in Brian after I was ratified and we started to work closer together. I said, what, this gentleman is actually somewhat shy and not the arrogant person people perceive him to be or paint him to be. And I didn't say it to him. He's shy, but he's also tough. He's very tough. There were once or twice I said certain things to him in terms of what was going on, and he said, "Man, that's okay. That's okay. We wake it out. We wake it out. That's okay." That tells me he has a deep level of humility as well. That might not show in his public presentation, because as the leader of the party, he has to demonstrate the strength to lead regardless of what's going on. And he's very passionate about his views, about the views of how this country should move forward. He's very passionate about putting Bahamians first. He's very passionate about a better life for this country. And those views and passions has turned into philosophies for the DNA. And we all share the same philosophy. And let me tell you, Brian is someone I would fight shoulder to shoulder with in any cause, because I've seen his spirit, I see his heart, and I've interacted with him, and I know what I'm looking for in a person who should be a leader at this level in the country.
We've got more calls lined up. Let's go and pay the bills, though. We've got to take this break. When we come back, there's more of Sidney Knowles and, of course, of Stephen Greenslade, and more about Brand. The brand, the man is what they say. And I want to ask, what about the demographics of it all? I mean, we heard Cindy refer to the University of the Bahamas and the young people that they've been talking to. Is that demographic the 18 to 25? Is that 35 to 60? And what do they make of it in the DNA? Will that swing things? Will that be the linchpin? Will that be the thing that people have not been really talking about, but I've been reading, and a lot of young people they're looking, they're shopping around, and a lot of them have said they just don't like the FNM, they just ain't voting for the PLP. And does that mean that leaves the DNA as the only alternative? I don't know. I'm going to ask Sidney when we come back. This is Hard Copy.
Mommy, what does comprehensive mean?
It's when you include everything, not just some things. Why?
I'm reading it on your Facebook page. Your friend Kalina has comprehensive health coverage.
Let me see that. Comprehensive health coverage that includes primary and specialist care, hospitalization, surgical services, overseas care, and rehabilitative services.
So they didn't leave anything out?
They sure didn't. Kalina really is my friend.
Talk to Kalina about comprehensive health coverage that won't leave you exposed. Visit kalina.com or find us on Facebook.
If you are suffering from a foot injury or disorder, make plans to visit Bahamas Foot and Ankle on Blake Road in Western New Providence. There they treat a number of foot ailments and injuries like arthritis pain, bunion and hammer toes, corn and calluses. They provide diabetic foot care and education, and services also include treatment for fracture, dislocations and sprains. They can permanently remove that ingrown toenail, plus an array of other services available. Bahamas Foot and Ankle, Blake Road. Telephone 302-4607.
Do you feel trapped and unable to move because of debt? Are you trying to meet your monthly obligations but still falling behind? Then what you need is a fresh start. BOB's Fresh Start Debt Consolidation Loan will combine your existing debts into one easy monthly payment, restoring your financial freedom and getting you back on track with a built-in savings plan. Talk to us today about your BOB Fresh Start Debt Consolidation Loan. BOB, your bank of solutions.
At Ron's Electric Motors, they repair and rewind all major brands of electric motors, including water pumps, generators and the generator's back end, welding machines, electric lifts, air compressors, battery chargers, and more. They're equipped to handle up to 850 kilowatts and rewind up to 450 horsepower motors. They're conveniently located on the corner of Wolf and Clarence Roads and are open weekdays, p.m. Saturdays till noon. They offer 24 hours emergency assistance. You can reach them at 242-356-0249.
Executive Printers. We're professionals. At Executive Printers, we do not participate in trash talk. We concern ourselves with the accuracy and security of your laser check. That is why we put 15 securities on your laser checks. This is not trash. It makes fraud almost impossible. Call us today at Executive Printers at 3931 or email us at sales@bahamas.com. That's sales@epbahamas.com. Executive.
If it moves, chances are, I assure you, we offer a variety of coverage options for cars, SUVs, boats, and more. Our comprehensive auto insurance policy covers loss or damage due to collision, theft, fire, flood, or hurricane. Third-party coverage is also available. Call Advantage Insurance at 356-0285 or visit us on Collins Avenue today. Advantage Insurance years.
Is stay cool, especially when those hot summer months roll in. Keep cool with Cool Tech. Located Tony Williams Darling Highway, Cool Tech Air Conditioning Center. They install and service everything they sell. That means prompt, reliable service 24/7. Cool Tech, the only with guarantee. Call Cool Tech now, 65.
Let's go now.
As soon as I believe.
But you said you'd take me to the park today. Rami, why don't you sign up for the e-Kids time?
Sign up for e-notifications. Receive your bills through email, view, print, and pay your bills online. Leaving 3 months and receive $10 off your
At 5 o'clock this afternoon, the Supreme Court of the Bahamas approved these arrangements.
We trusted the Prime Minister when he said he was putting every ounce of his energy into resolving this matter.
We were given a mandate, and the Prime Minister was steadfast. And I don't care which way you look at it.
To speak to the Attorney General and subaltern vessel going off to China to negotiate any agreement in those terms is another lie.
Everybody, as a Bahamian, has rallied around a Prime Minister that they can trust.
The AG and subaltern have been traveling to and from China for the last 6-8 months.
It gives me great pleasure to announce that earlier today, the government of the Bahamas and the Export-Import Bank of China signed an agreement under which the Bahama Resort will be completed and sold to a world-class hotel and casino operator.
He has to be given credit for what he did and how resolute he was in resolving this. And it's through his resolution that this came about.
What's best for you? If you negotiate a deal with me. Because if I don't be here, if I'm not here in 10 months, they're probably not going to be as friendly and as accommodating as I am.
Bahama has failed already. It has failed. Not a matter of failing. It has failed. It is an absolute failure.
People still can be unhappy. Unfortunately, it's just something we've come to accept that people didn't think would happen. It's happened.
I'm just happy, and I'm sure the Bahamian people are happy that there's light at the end of this tunnel.
I want to give God thanks. I want to give God praise, for He has blessed us with this outcome. It's a good day for the Bahamas, and it's a great day for Bahamians.
A more appropriate song would have been Do You Remember the Times by Michael Jackson. Funky Town, though, gets the focus on all those things as we begin to roll out the time of this particular government in review. And some things that happened then are some things that we are stuck with now. And as I said, pressure builds pipe. And a lot of pressures now in the vicinity of the Progressive Liberal Party. But we're talking about the DNA today, and I've got people holding on the lines from the last break. So let me just go straight to the telephone lines and say good afternoon. How you doing today? Thanks for holding.
I'm Stephen. Good afternoon to you again.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon.
To both of you, I guess, Steve, I would like to put a question on the table and ask them both their take on God's principle about the marriage man on wife.
Mm-hmm.
And to Mr. Greenslade, this one is for you, sir.
Yep.
I would like to know, in your company, sir, is there a regular 40-hour work week? And if somebody picks up 3 or 4 extra shifts, is that considered regular pay, or is they entitled to overtime? And what I would say to the general audience out there and Steve's studios, that we as Bahamians are going to the polls to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Are we so much interested in policies, or which we should be, or are we concerned about also finding out the integrity and who these candidates are who are vying for posts in this new government? Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. I say, and I caution you on the whole matter of your company's situation. I want to omit that because I think it's a relevant question, but I think it's an unfair question as posed in this particular forum. And I know that there's some things before the labor board, and so even with that, you should not prejudice the case on that matter. But the other things that I think the gentleman asks on morality and on your position of the relevance of man-woman relationship, that kind of, I think those are fair questions. And I think that they also speak to the spirituality, the morality, and of course the integrity of an individual like you or an individual like Cindy. So please feel free, answer.
Well, I will answer that based on my personal belief, not a reflection so much on the DNA's position. First of all, I have friends of all walks of life, in
all persuasions.
All persuasion. And when I call you a friend, I mean friends. Okay. And you're a friend based on how you treat me and how you treat my family. What you do personally with your life doesn't infringe on mine or my family. That's fine with me. Outside of that, I am also a Roman Catholic. So my faith speaks to how I live my life personally in terms of my belief. So as it relates to the whole marriage, man, woman, all of that, that's all I have to say on that matter.
Okay. I also follow Christian beliefs. I'm a Christian by religion. And my view on the issue respect to same-sex marriage, and it's the issue or being considered or discussed in our society now. We haven't had any decision made on that in terms of, well, the Bahamas will acknowledge same-sex marriage as a policy or not. But I would say this much, while I do have relatives who are of particular personal persuasions, I don't believe in same-sex marriage. And if a bill was presented and a vote was calculated, I wouldn't vote for same-sex marriage based on my Christian beliefs.
Understood. Fair enough. Hard copy, how are you?
Hey, good evening, Mr. McKinney.
Yes, sir.
Yes, reconciling. Good evening to your guest, Mr. Greenslade. And,
good afternoon, sir.
Yes. And what's the lady's name again?
Cindy Knowles.
Okay, Mr. Knowles. Good evening to both of you. Mr. McKinney, I wanted to say something in regard to Mr. Greenslade yesterday, but I'm glad that you have him on today. I don't know him personally, but I met him before. And, for some reason, I like Mr. Greenslade, and I respect his views.
Thank you, sir.
And I believe he is making some inroads in the area where he is. Now, Brother Juan Miller, I know we go about 20 plus years, and he's a friend of mine. If it come to him and Brother Miller probably get the edge, but it might even be a place where, like in football, you get to throw a Hail Mary. You know what I'm saying?
So Hail Mary.
Mary, and Steve, you laugh. You know exactly what I'm talking about as a sports fan.
Well, a Hail Mary, and plus I'm a Catholic too, so.
I
I remember writing a headline one time when I was working for the Tribune as a sports writer. There was this big game between the Cougars and the Colonels.
Right.
And a friend of mine who I really admired, his name was Father Boy. He used to call him Father Boy.
Yeah, I know that.
And Kenneth Roll was his name. And he threw up a Hail Mary.
Yeah.
From way out the half court. And it went clean and swish. And I said, Father Boy, see, listen to the words. Father Boy threw up a Hail Mary, and the Cougars' prayers were answered.
Yeah,
that was the headline.
Exactly.
Isn't that classic?
That's a good headline. But getting back to what I was saying,
Yes, sir.
McKinney, I supported the DNA last time. Unfortunately, I'm not going to support them this time. Is not resonating with me. Now, like I said, they have a few good quality candidates as far as I'm concerned. Mr. Greenslade and the young lady, I don't know who, I never even met her, but she sounds like she's a sensible young lady. And, I believe they're a good candidate. But I voted for Mr. What do you name in Nassau Village the last time, Mr. Mortimer. I don't think he's there this time. And, although I never met him, even before the 2012 election, I still gave him one. After
Chris
what I met him, I
down
asked him to give my number, I asked him to give me a call. Even Mr. What do you name, the leader, Mr. McCartney, they never called me, not once. But, and I always said, hey, listen, man, I'm going to support you, but they're not resonating with me. Now, unfortunately for them, as what happened in 2012, I don't believe that is going to be have the same effect as it did last time. I don't think it's going to have that kind of impact of dividing the vote for mentioned they would have some impact indeed, yes, but not to the extent that it did the last time. Because my view, now this is my view, I believe that they have lost some ground and they are not resonating with the people the way the Free National Movement in my mind is resonating with the people right now. Okay? And of course, these are my personal views, and we all have it and we all entitled to them.
Absolutely.
Views. Up to very recently, I did not even say I support any party because I was of the view that it's not really, nobody's presenting me what I'm really listening for. But here of late, although I'm not 100% on the scale of 1 to 100, I believe we're 89 to 90% pleased with the way Dr. Minister is going, dealing with the issues. I think that I've decided to look that way. But however, Brother McKinney, I am enjoying the show. I believe I respect these people. I respect Mr. Greenslade. But like I said, between him and Warren, I probably would give Warren the edge.
You mean you count Alcides right out of that?
Alcides ain't even come to this equation. He ain't even reached the radar. Real talk.
I hear you. I appreciate your call.
I'm enjoying the show, man, and have a good day.
Thank you very much. She says Alcides ain't even on the radar, so it's only between you and is what he says. Reconciler.
I see.
What are your thoughts, quickly?
Well, I've grown to respect the reconciler. I've heard him contribute in commentary to all the shows, basically, and he made some very basic points and very objective points. And I think he's someone who really do have the best interests of the country at heart. And I thank you so much, Reconciler, for the compliments. And yes, we did meet and we exchanged professional exchange, and the perception was in place. In terms of where the DNA came from to where it is now, I realize now that it's very challenging building a political party. And while I don't know the circumstances under which his interaction with our leader and deputy leader may have taken the turn it took, I would ask you, forgive the brothers. Forgive the brothers. They worked hard. Let me tell you, building a political party is no easy feat.
No question about
no
it.
easy feat.
No
and I take my hats off to them all the time. And because they are both so humble, they would say, man, you know, it comes to the territory. But I tip my hat off to them for where they've brought the DNA.
Well, certainly there's stability.
2011.
They've been able to hold themselves from the time they started the journey to this
Stability
present.
and growth.
That is something that you have to in fact acknowledge. And if you want to be honest about the whole thing, that is a good point for them. I mean, certainly many other political parties came around and started to show some sign of life, and then, well, what do you know, they were flash in the pan, and then yet Brand and those were consistent. And so that's to his credit, and that's a good thing. You wanted to say before I take this call? No. Okay, all right, let me take this call on the line. Good afternoon, how are you?
How you doing? Kennedy boy. How you doing, Steve?
All is well, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Greenslade and the young lady.
Good afternoon, sir.
Cindy Knowles.
Okay, Mr. Knowles. I want him to know, this is something simple, right to the point. I want him to know Glove could be off in a matter of 2 weeks' time. They have to realize that what Loretta Butler Turner and their leader came in conclusion with the Oaks Minutes, and it didn't happen. They know this is going to go in their face bad. So they better prepare for war.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I appreciate your call.
Thank you.
By the way, I heard about Loretta Butler Turner today, and of course, there's when I say I heard about her, she was mentioned in my presence in some event that I was attending. And the interesting thing is that the individuals were reporting that she perhaps will run as an independent, but in this one, but if she will get 100 votes out of Long Island, if she goes there, is another story. And I mean, they're talking about an area that she was the member of parliament in, so I don't really buy that. But the point is, that's the terms in which they were talking about. Loretta's not been able to really make up her mind yet as to whether or not she's going to run, but she did have something to say with your leader at the time that she tried to bring about this amalgamation that was a misunderstanding, that Brandville didn't think that there was anything that they had as a special deal, and Loretta thought that there was something they had as a special deal. That came up before. I think it is dissipated. I think it is dead. It didn't hold water, and that's because Loretta had not been able to work that situation to the fullness of where she wanted to really go, and they've all fizzled, and that's what has happened. And so for all intent and purposes, that seems to be over. So I wouldn't bring it up as an issue that that Brandville or the DNA should be very concerned about, even though people started to say, I wonder if he was telling the truth. That's what that gentleman was referring to. I wonder if Brandville was telling the truth when it came to Loretta Butler Turner and why he quit, as well as that Minnis didn't tell the truth about something, and there was this confrontation that Minnis lied about something. And I thought that may have been something that left a bad taste in some people's mouth. But the bottom line is that there's been so many situations where there's been, I suppose, deception, especially from the Perry Christie end, that it doesn't seem to amount to a hill of beans, because Christie told us that the Bahama was sold. End of story. And that is the ultimate. I mean, this is the prime minister who said that. And then, of course, Mr. Graham Davis, who is the president of Chow Tai Fook, came back and say, wait a second. We are doing a lot of things, but it's not really been sold to us yet. We haven't purchased it. It's not, and we understand that the paperwork can be done because this thing is still under seal and so forth and so on, and all kinds of layers and layers of things. And but the bottom line I'm trying to say, the deception that happened with that particular one really topped the scale, and Brandville became a choir boy versus Christie on that particular matter. So
you're absolutely right, Steve. That matter is it's not an issue for the DNA, and our leader has addressed that many times and cleared it. And on the ground, it's not it's not an issue for us at all.
I've got tons and tons of text messages and WhatsApps, and we're not going to be able to read them. But this person says, "Good evening, Mr. McKinney. People need to know Brandville is still at F&M. He just wanted to be prime minister. That's what he is looking for." That's what that comment said. Others are telling me all kinds of things here. And let me go to some of those text messages.
You look at our policies, and they're nothing like what the F&M has, what they're putting forward in terms of their plans.
In fact, the F&M copied a lot of our plans.
Yeah,
and build theirs around it.
The DNA, bottom line, is the DNA.
Yeah.
You know, I am a DNA, and that's it. And every candidate in the DNA would say the same thing.
Let me read some of these text messages. Hi, Steve. Your guest, tell your guests we don't trust the DNA leader ever since he aligned himself with Loretta. We rock him with Doc, is what this person says. Another person says this. Boy, it's a lot. Steve, every Friday, every party is in it to win it. The last caller come like he mad with the DNA. The last caller come like he mad with the DNA for getting over 13,000 votes. He should vote for his choice and let others do the same, is what that person says.
And that's a fair perception to have. You know.
The F&M has never been in power under the leadership of Hubert Minnis, is what this person says. A vote for the DNA is a vote for the PLP. That's what it says. Another one says this, Mr. McKinney, let them know this is a new breed of people. And that one, that's a mouthful, we like to say.
Exactly. A new breed of people, different times.
This person says, Steve, please conduct a poll to see which party would win. That is not what we do these days. We leave that for the other fellows to do that. We almost could tell you who can win, but we ain't gonna tell you that yet. Steve, ask your guest if Branville and his deputy don't win their seat, then what? If Branville and his deputy don't win the seat, then what? That's what this person poses.
And we address that. We address that bridge when we reach to it, but we are certain that Mr. McCartney and Mr. Moore will win their seats, and we are certain that the DNA will become the next governor of the Bahamas.
This person says, hi, Steve, Alcides has done well in Golden Isles. The only way Green State can win is if the people want to spite the PLP. You heard that?
Well, thanks. I think that's already dealt with.
This person says, the PM is unhinged. Simple. Hopefully the new government will discontinue this carnival garbage. If you can't take the heat, get the hell out of the kitchen, is what this person says. I suppose that's talking to all and sundry who may be feeling it to be a rough time. Yes. This person says, Steve, don't the armed forces vote at least 3 weeks before the general elections?
Interesting.
Yep. The armed forces will vote first, and
yes.
This is a crazy time for them because there's a big row going on with the police officers and all them, and the government of the Bahamas and all kinds of stuff. And so I don't know. The police force may not be feeding to what's the word I want to use?
Anyhow, it's
progressive and liberal. They may not be feeling progressive and liberal.
Yeah, and they're ready to make their voice heard.
This one says, don't forget Allison Maynard's interest in Bahamas greater than her interest for justice being meted out in the Bahamas, is what this person says. There are all kinds of text messages, of course, some related directly to what we're talking about, some just wild out there because there are people who have a problem with a lot of things that's been happening in the governance of this country, and that is just the way it is. This person says the DNA is being hypocritical. They say the F&M and the PLP is two of the same sides of one coin. Then the next breath, they object to persons saying a vote for the DNA is a vote for the PLP. So why do you continue to say that?
Because a vote for the DNA is a vote for the DNA. It's that simple.
It's not a slam dunk to convince the masses of change. I never expected DNA to win the first election, but I think it is very important to stay the course. And if we want a true change for the betterment of our country, for those who want this change, I say this is no time to jump ship. Stay the course is what this person says. And I suppose he's talking about staying on board with the DNA. Steve, good afternoon. Is there something? Okay. Yeah. Peace streaming is up, Stephen Jr. The streaming is up and running. Okay. So sometimes people have a trouble with streaming. It's your phone or it's in your area and that kind of thing. Okay, because it's up and running at the station. Good evening, Steve. How are you? This is resident of Golden Isles. The choice is very clear. Oh, Is that right, Gentry? Say the choice is very clear. Mr. Greenslade, Stephen Greenslade for Golden Isles. He has shown a level of professionalism that no one in either parties can even compare. That's what this person says. So that is the streaming up and running. Okay, there you go.
Thank you, Gentry.
You know Gentry?
Yep.
You know.
I know.
Okay. A great guy. I know.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, he's a very professional young man.
Oh, yeah, no question.
He'll tell you the truth. You don't distort it because you believe in sucking up, so to speak. He tells you the truth.
Yeah.
And we have had times when he was candid with me, and I follow his advice, and I share my views with him, and we come to a mutual understanding on points that we may see different sides of.
Here's something that this person says, and this is to be taken as he says it. This is what he feels. He says, "Good afternoon, Mr. McKinney. Please tell your panelists that in 2012 the DNA was spoilers, but in 2017 their support has dwindled, and they won't even win one seat. None of them will get their deposit back," is what this person says. For whatever that means, good or bad. Good afternoon, Steve. Now the shame will begin for Mr. Christie. Open shame is what maybe they're talking about. From the time I was talking about how right now Christie is troubled on all ends, and pressure is being brought to bear. And even right now, Christie seems to be intolerant these days, and intolerant is never acceptable, not within the party ranks of the PLP, but we talked earlier about how he appears to have thrown Michael Alcides under the bus. Now, Alcides need his support right now.
Yeah.
But it appears, it appears by stories accounted in newspapers that Alcides was the recipient of Mr. Christie's apparent anger when he attended the naming of the University of the Boulevard. And as I told you at the beginning of the show, here's what he said. He says, "And even though," this is Christie talking, "and even though I have a brilliant young man in Michael Alcides, a graduate of the College of the Bahamas, I have to be able to challenge him because it is so important to recognize how easy it is to piss away money." It's Christie. He said, "Excuse me for the language. That's what you call rich language," is Christie. "And one day, you all at the College of the Bahamas or the University of the Bahamas will teach it as a very graphic expression for annoyance in my definition." So obviously, he was saying he was annoyed. And what was he annoyed about? This value-added tax thing that was all messed up and blown up by Alcides, his state minister, who is now running in Golden Isles. Yeah. And Alcides has his posters up, says, "Experienced and focused." I saw it today. And I said, wow.
Yeah.
Experienced and focused, but those two words, experience and focus, were missing at the PLP's convention when he flippantly dealt with the thing on the value-added tax. And that may be what Christie's annoyed about.
And, again, my personal view on this process for us is we get too political when we are addressing national issues. And I think when I say we, I'm talking about generally what was happening in our past. Too political, too partisan in our approach to issues, national issues, and it caused many mistakes to happen, whether it be internally to a party or publicly as they make their utterances publicly. Those are mistakes, and those mistakes are very hard to come back from.
All right, so I wanted to ask you a question. Now. This is the question of the day, right? It's the question of the day as we get ready to end. What's the demographics now? What are we focused on? Because University of the Bahamas, young people moving up and down, matriculating, and at the same time politicking a little bit too, and trying to understand what the issues are and talking about things that they consider to be issues for them and education and their future and all of that. And so I suppose that the DNA is the party of a lot of young people who, in fact, are interested in the dynamics of this country. They want to be given a chance. Would you say that the focus for the DNA would be between 18 and 25, 18 and 30, 18 and 35, or 35 to 60 years old? What's the makeup of the demographics when you look at the DNA, and what is expected to be gleaned from the electorate in this upcoming election?
Well, definitely the DNA focuses between 18 and 34, and among our young people, and for the most part, women. And what we're being told on the ground is that young people, they want to work. Okay, they want to work. They want to have a voice in the running of their country.
Why did you say they want to work? Is that because of that demographic? Statistics show that that is the highest level of unemployment.
Yes,
somewhere around almost 70%.
And they're not unemployed by choice. They want to work. They are out there trying to work, and it's because of circumstances that it's all sorts of circumstances that affect this demographic, 18 to 34.
Okay.
And then we have the women making up a large part of that. And when you look at it, our society in terms of who's bringing home and the bread at the end of the day, the single mothers, they need to be able to make a decent living to take care of their families. So they're affected by these circumstances.
So you should have a windfall in that age category because most people are looking for something new. Do you find that they're looking for something new?
Definitely. And young people are the ones who are always prepared to make that change. They're ready to look at things differently. They will take that chance. Yes.
And they'll take that chance, Stephen Greenslade, because they're not really loyal to anyone in particular.
No.
They are looking for opportunity and success, almost in the first stroke of what that opportunity may bring.
What I was proud of in our interaction with some of the students at University of the Bahamas today was that they asked very, very relevant questions about what we plan to do in terms of governance, what we plan to do in terms of positioning the country so that we can see the issues we now face move away, fade away. For example, crime, unemployment, the economy's stabilization. And so they asked very structured questions, and that was very encouraging for me because it tells me that the mentality that I'm seeking to help stimulate in the country is actually coming out of the ground for us as a nation. And it's encouraging for me because the mental framework or the mentality of a society determines the type of issues or the types of resolutions that comes about in that society. And it determines how that society move forward into modernization as it continues to exist as a society. So I'm encouraged. I'm very encouraged. And the DNA will continue to push its messages. And the three main points in our message now we're focusing on is crime, is employment or jobs, and the economy. Those are the three major issues for us as a country. We are putting a lot of focus on that. We're here to serve all Bahamians, all Bahamians. We understand that the demographic between 18 and 35 is where we have to put more focus because that's the next generation. And we want to hand over to them a country that is stable, a country that is safe, and one that has economic growth and is moving towards its full potential economically by using the resources that exist here to the benefit of the Bahamian public.
Here somebody says, I'm not in Stephen's area to vote, but I am praying for him to win that seat. Greenslade is my boy. Tell him this Danny Scott from the dock.
Hey, Danny. Thank you so much, Danny. Appreciate that.
So what are your thoughts there as far as you talked to me about the demographics already and all that. And so I suppose that from the looks of things, then you all should be sitting pretty and even smiling because you are in a comfortable position where you feel as if you've done all that could have been done pre-election now, or most that could have been done pre-election so far for the most part. And in the rest of the way, you'll be able to just capitalize on those things that you've done or fix those mistakes that were made. And you feel as if you all are in a good position to win it.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We feel that. We know that. We just have to now convince the public that we are ready to govern, and we're doing that every day.
Yes, and I'm not sure I want to use the word comfortable as so much as we're focused, and we will remain focused on what the needs of the people are and what it's going to take to get us to be the next government of the Bahamas.
Well, listen, I appreciate both of you being here today. Stephen Greenslade from Golden Isles. And they say, watch him, Steve. He's the man. He's the man is what they tell me. And Cindy Knowles, who's in my constituency of Fort Charlotte. And of course, she's been here all of her life. I know the young lady. And she is young. She does look like a teeny bopper, but she's like 33 years old. So that's not old at all.
Thank you.
And of course, we appreciate that you have decided to make the run for it, because you need to have more women in politics.
Yes.
Doing some stuff. Now there's sweet Emily over there up in Marathon Estates.
Yes.
And so that's another bright spot that is looking pretty good as one of those phenomenal areas that's peculiar.
Yeah.
One of the
and
things
we do have 13 female candidates that's vying for the next government.
You're about to say?
I was going to say the same thing.
13.
One of the things that we are very proud of as a party is that we have a good balance of male and female representation in the party in terms of candidates, and we all professionals, all experts in their field.
So let's see.
We are looking forward to.
And look at it like this, Steve. Growing up, you had, and you probably, if your mother's still alive, you feel the strength of your mother in your back, right? And when you take on your partner in life, you feel the strength of your partner on your wife on your side. So the DNA is well protected by the strength
of the women.
Of the women.
Well, last time you went out there, you got 13,000 votes. Now this time you come back and you got 13 women.
Yeah.
They increased to 13,000 votes, is what you're saying.
Yes.
I got you. I read you clearly. I read you loud and clear. Well, listen, thank you both. I wish you the very, very best. And it's been a very enlightening interview, I think. Yes. And I thought that as candidates, both of you did exceptionally well, considering the actual issues that are out there before us. And I'm particularly pleased the fact that you both, I thought, did a decent job of representing yourself. And so you don't normally hear a host say that, but I say that to you because it's a move of encouragement that all ain't lost. You just got to do what you do, and win, lose, or draw, you would have been in the race, and that's the most important thing to help to build the country.
Yeah.
All right.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you very kindly.
Thank
well,
you.
Steve, let's go home. All right. Today's show has been brought to you by the folks who make it happen all the time. And of course, I'm happy to tell you that they include the Water and Sewage Corporation, Bahamas Public Parks and Beaches Authority, Mount Tabor's Inspiration, Ministry of Tourism, Echo Water, the official water of hard copy, Hadji's, your everything store on St. Albans Drive. Come on, buy the new debit card, Rocky Farms Nursery on Seabreeze Lane. Cool Tech, the Eckerdue experts on Tonic Williams Darling Highway. Bahamian Brewery and Beverages. Galena Insurance for comprehensive coverage. Super Wash, open 24/7 around the clock. Bank of the Bahamas, the Bank of Solutions. Super Value, the all Bahamian supermarkets. Advantage George and Broker, 61 Collins Avenue. Ron's Electric Motors on Clarence and Wolf Road. Executive Printers on Jerome Avenue. The McKinney Media Group for the best results in advertisement. Come here at Peace. Do it in hard copy. You'll get good results. Bahamas Foot and Ankle on Blake Road. Our sponsors here this afternoon. Thank you so much. Stephen Jr. has been our producer extraordinaire. Staff to McKinney on front at the desk and certainly in the studios, the technical producer, Stephen McKinney Jr. Esquire. Thank you so much. Tomorrow on the show, we've got Johnny Routledge is in town all the way from Atlanta, live in a living color. He'll be here at 5 tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we're going to move the pot cake and Georgie Old Boy on Thursday show. So Georgie and them will swap out. Thursday is for Georgie and Leslie Miller. Tomorrow it's for Johnny Routledge. Who is Johnny Routledge? He's only the man who told you that Christy will come to this point in the road. And he'll be here live tomorrow at 5. See you then. Good night.
This is Peace Radio After Dark.